Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Rob Hope and I work for Demite. And today we're going to be introducing to you a classic dish called chocolate opera cake. Michael.
大家好，我是德麦光头王麦克。那今天我们来到我们7月份的巧克力季节。这个月呢，我们会制作各种不同的巧克力西点。那我们就先来看看有什么原料吧。
We're going to start off. We're going to be using coffee powder from Demite, French cream, LV, Sicilian almond powder, which is very good quality, New Zealand West Gold butter, and the most important ingredient, Lindt chocolate. This is 53.5% dark chocolate, and it's very smooth texture, and it's got a nice citrusy taste. Okay, so the first thing we need to make is the Jacon sponge cake, which is an almond-based cake, a very moist, light textured cake. So first of all, we need all the ingredients. Great. So in this bowl, I have the sugar and the almond powder, which I'm going to mix later. We're using a paddle. So I'm just going to mix that a little bit so we can mix the sugar and the almond powder together. And they're both combined very well. I have the whole eggs here. An important thing is to have your eggs at room temperature. You get more volume in your cake. So I'm going to add the eggs one by one.
How about the speed of the blender?
The speed, just medium, is fine. And you'll see now from the picture, it's becoming like a paste.
Yeah, okay.
So now we can add another one. So I can turn it up a little bit now. And I've already pre-melted my butter. And it's also very important to make sure the butter's not hot, because the hot butter will deflate the egg mixture.
So does the almond powder makes a big difference in the flavor?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, and almond, when you bake it, the almond releases its own oil, so it gives a whole new flavor to a sponge cake. So now all my eggs are incorporated, and you can see changing color, yes, because the egg white will make it a little bit lighter. And now we're going to add the butter. And now I can slow down that a little bit. Okay, all the butter's in now, so now I can take this part off. And as you can see, nice creamy texture, and it hasn't separated. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do the egg white, and it's going to be a French meringue. So, and I have here is corn flour and cake flour.
Cake flour, okay.
Okay, and I've already pre-sieved that. So now we're going to incorporate this into the almond mix. Yeah, it's very, very little, and we're just going to stir that around with a spoon. And we don't need a machine for this.
Why not?
Because it's such a little amount. It doesn't take much mixing.
So just a little bit of mixing.
Yeah, all nice and smooth, no lumps. But it is very important to sieve the corn flour and the flour together. So now my flour is all incorporated. I can leave this right here, and now we're going to move on to the egg white, which is the French method. French, we just whisk up the egg whites until they become frothy. So this one, you can turn on the full speed to get the egg whites to come up. And then I'm going to turn it down slightly, and I'm just going to add the sugar. Now we can turn that back up again. So I'm looking for a nice stiff peak. So just so we can just lift that up, and you get that nice peak here, but not too much. And this recipe does one tray. My tray here, I'm using a silk pet mat. Okay, you can use baking paper, that's fine. This one will do one tray. It's 60 by 40. One tray mixture is 1 kilo 100. Very simple, straight on. So I have a step blade, palette knife, and we're just going to smooth that over like that into all the corners. Give that a shake, and what we're going to do is just going to give it a tap. Like that. And what that does is it brings out the big air bubbles and makes all the air bubbles even for even baking. Now we're going to bake this off at 180 degrees for 20 minutes, and then we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. And now you can see a nice light color on the top, and we've got the nice light color on the bottom. We'll just leave it in the fridge until we need it later. So next step, we're going to make the chocolate ganache using the Lindt chocolate. Okay, so slightly melted the chocolate here, and I've got my coffee powder and my whipping cream, LV. So we're going to turn this on.
So talk a little bit about the history of Lindt chocolate.
Yeah, away you go, Michael.
The chocolate actually was founded in 1845.
Yeah?
In Swiss. And they are the first company to introduce the tempering technique where you blend the chocolate for a long time to reach the silkiness
Correct.
that they provide in the chocolate. You know how they found this technique?
No, don't tell me.
They actually forgot to turn off the machine one day and went home and then came back the next day and found out the chocolate tasted way better.
I didn't know that.
So sometimes, you know, making a mistake moves things forward.
Okay, boiling. So we just need to turn that off, and I'm going to add my dehydrated coffee powder. So now we're just going to add this to the semi-melt chocolate. So I'm just slowly mixing this through, not too hard, and the chocolate will melt slowly in, and eventually you'll see a nice glossy chocolate ganache. Traditionally, they flavor the buttercream with coffee, but I feel that the chocolate complements it better than the buttercream, so we're leaving the buttercream as a vanilla buttercream. So this to one side, and we leave that for 1 hour to set. So next, we're going to be making the jelly glaze. Bang, here it is. So now we're going to do, it's called a chocolate glaze, sort of like a jelly, right? So we've got obviously gelatine, and now we're going to boil sugar and water. And we're going to boil the syrup. After boiling, we're going to keep it going for 1 minute. Boiling now, so we'll time 1 minute. Oh, so we're ready. That's 1 minute. So I can turn that off now. Take it off the heat whenever you're adding. And then we're going to put in the cocoa powder. I take it off the heat, so I don't want it to stick to the bottom of the pan. If it's too hot, you'll burn the cocoa powder. So all in. So I'm just going to gently mix that in.
I can really smell the chocolate now.
Yeah, you can, right?
Very strong.
Okay, so we make sure that's nicely whisked in and no lumps and no cocoa sticking to the bottom of the pan. What we're going to do is we're going to return it back and we're going to re-cook it. We're going to cook this to boiling, and then I'm going to keep mixing. If it starts scraping, then you take it off.
Okay.
So we just need to bring that back up.
How long do you cook it for approximately?
Around another minute or 2 minutes. So we'll bring that to the boil first. As you can see, it's starting to bubble up. Just keep stirring, and you may have to turn it down. It may bubble up over the pan. So always make sure you've got plenty of room in the pan, at least halfway. If you're worried, just take it off, put it to the side, and just stir it, turn it down. So we turn that down half temperature. So now I'm getting a slow boil there. See the bubbling away there? This is the important part. Otherwise, you'll get a powdery taste on the top of your tongue. But again, very easy for this to burn on the bottom of the pan. So this part, I can't do too long. It'll start setting on the bottom, the powder. But here I can do it a little bit longer until it almost comes over the top of the pan. So basically you're just doing a simmer, but never walk away from this. Always keep moving. So this has been roughly 2 minutes already. Can't feel nothing on the bottom there. So now I'm going to leave that just stirring there. So we'll put the glucose. I've already melted the glucose into the cream. We can bring this to the boil. Still stirring this, by the way.
I can help you out with that.
And sure, thanks. We're going to melt the gelatine in the microwave, and we're just melting that slightly. That's boiled. So now we're going to take it off the heat again, and we're going to slowly add this to the cream mixture. You can see how thick that is now. This is fully cooked out. Okay, boiling again, and this time it's more easy because I got the cream in here now, so I'm not necessarily going to stick to the bottom of the pan, but this will easily boil over if I keep it on a low heat or even turn it down a bit more. See, it's almost coming to the top, and we're just going to keep cooking that and turn it down. I just want to cook this as long as possible before I can feel the bottom of the pan taking on the heat. And this is on low temperature right now. You see it's just bubbling up. Okay, so that's done. Put this into a long cylinder shape, right? Because I'm going to use a blender. If you use a blender in a wider pan, you're going to get lots and lots of bubbles. So we're going to put the gelatine in.
Any technique here?
No, just make sure everything's blended through, and it also brings the shine on a little bit more better. And also the gelatine will mix evenly through the whole mixture. And you can see the shine on there, look at that. Now we need to start on the buttercream. It's a vanilla buttercream, so here we go. Bang, here it is. So 3 basic ingredients for buttercream: sugar, eggs, butter.
Okay, do you want me to stir?
No need to stir because it will just melt naturally. Also, when you stir sugar, it's a crystal. So you will agitate the crystals and the whole thing will crystal. So you won't get a nice clear syrup. Don't be shaking the pot, it'll melt. And we're going to do this for probably 1 minute or more. So for this one, we're going to need a whisk and the bowl. And we're going to put the eggs in here while that's boiling. So, because we want the eggs to be ready and frothy before we add the sugar. And this is a standard procedure in all kitchens because the eggs are not safe to eat raw. So this is why we're cooking the sugar rather than just adding the sugar to here. And also stability as well. So I'm going to take that off the heat. That's long enough. So I'll just show you a little tip. You can test the sugar like this, just on the bottom, and you can see already stringy, like that. But we don't want it to be hard like the glass. Okay, that's too far. So I'm gonna pour this sugar, I'm gonna turn that down. My eggs are all frothy now. Is to pour it between the whisk and the bowl. You try not to have it spurting over onto the whisk, otherwise it'll splatter on the bowl. Now all my sugar, if you notice, you'll see some of the sugar is set on the sides of on the bowl here. That's okay, no problem. Spoon by spoon, I'm going to turn this down and slowly, we don't add all at the same time because the mixture is still a little warm, so there's a chance that the butter would melt too quickly and you'd end up with a separated batter. Like I said earlier, we're going to scrape the bowl down now. So there might be some butter on the side. So I'm just going to make sure all the butter is inside. So I'm just going to give that one more mix, make it nice and smooth, just to make sure there's no small pieces of butter inside. And there we have it, a nice smooth buttercream and also nice and shiny. This is the last thing we make because the next step will be the putting together the opera cake. So we want the buttercream to be ready and ready to spread. And now we're going to prepare the Joconde sponge cake. We're going to cut it into usable sizes. Okay, almond cake is here. This was the after bake before. Now what I've done is we're going to make smaller portion. So what we need is 3 layers. So 1, 2, 3, and you can see one side have a slight skin on there. So I start off with the skin down because it's easier to pick up. And I'm going to transfer that to here. Coffee here, just slightly like that with the light brush. You don't need too much, just so, and then you let it soak in naturally. And then we have our buttercream, which is going to be the first layer. Let the coffee syrup soak in before you put this, otherwise it's going to be slipping all over. It's like driving a car and aquaplaning on a wet road, yeah? So you're just going to put some on here. The key point is to get it as even as possible. So nice and straight. Just check your level, see if it's straight. Yeah, it looks good. So now we're going to have to put this in the fridge just for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, okay? And then we'll come back and start with the ganache, okay? Right, we're ready with the buttercream. So you can see I can just touch it and my finger doesn't stick anymore. You don't want it too hard, otherwise the ganache and the buttercream, they won't marry each other. Ganache is setting, so it's just the right consistency to spread on top, another layer. So we just gently spread that. So we put the next level. So again, we're turning it over. So over we go. And gently on there like that. And I'm not pressing too hard because the ganache will squeeze out. And now espresso coffee. So now I'm going to put this in the fridge and we're going to come back and finish the last layers. Now it's finished and you can see I have all the layers finished. And what I've done is I've put a steel frame around the top so I can put the glaze on the top and then my glaze is not going to run all over the place. Here's the glaze here and you can almost see the camera inside there, right? If you look closely, see yourself. It's even more shiny than this guy. Take your hat off.
Yes, very shiny.
Oh, look at that. More shiny than Michael's head. I'm just going to pour that over the top and then we just need to tip the trays and it will just fall down naturally. So what we're going to do, we're going to put this back in the refrigerator and then we're going to slice it up and we'll show you how we decorate the opera cake. Okay, so here's a finished opera cake now. Ta-da! I'm going to show you how to decorate that. So we've cut that all nicely. You can see all the layers here. We're going to get a little bit of paper, baking paper, fold that up into a cone. We just put a little melted chocolate, and then we're going to just cut the end slightly. So, and now we'll test that. We've got the stream here. So we're going to do opera. This was the very first opera cake. They put a gold leaf square on there. Done.
Awesome. So I'm gonna try this opera cake. Very easy to cut. It melts very nicely, very thick. It's a very strong cake. I can really taste the chicanda and the garnish.
Yep.
The buttercream makes everything mixed together.
Yeah, it all marries itself. Yeah, that's correct.
And this is the money part. You want money right here. That's money.